start with a story. The other day, I was in my office at home, where I work mostly, in my inbox, processing emails, and guess what came across? A message that I had been tagged in a photo in Facebook. So I think we've probably all been there. So it's like, oh, awesome, Facebook. I've been tagged in a photo. Wonder what it is. I better click on it and see. So I go in, and one of my former students, Jordy, had tagged me in something, and I go in and I look around, and then I look at a different photo, and then I go read my news feed, and then I think, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be working. Stupid Facebook. So what happened? I got triggered. Now I'm going to be talking about triggering today in my talk. And when I say trigger, it's the same thing as prompt, call to action, cue, and so on. It's just generally that term. What's changed in the world of triggering is now, not only can technology trigger us to do things, but the triggers are often socially mediated. So it's not just a big brand or a company that's triggering me, it's people I know, and sometimes it's groups of people I know. But then I think, well, let's look on the bright side of this. Definitely, Facebook is doing something right, and of course this dawned on me before this story happened. And the way that Facebook is triggering our behaviors is really changing things. It's no accident that they're the fastest growing company I've ever seen. And whether you like it or not, the formula that Facebook is using, and you'll see this multiple times, is working. And it's essentially this: put hot triggers in the path of motivated people. Now, this is now what I call my design mantra. And I wish I would have known this way back when, in 1993, when I went to Stanford and started studying the overlap between computers and persuasion. I wanted to understand, how can you create machines that change human behavior and do that in a predictable way? Called it captology, and did my doctoral work there, founded a lab at Stanford shortly after that, published some books, ran some conferences, and so on, and read lots of stuff. But this idea of putting hot triggers in the path of motivated people did not dawn on me until more recently. I wish I had known that back in the 90s. And to me this seems, so these 9 words are, I think, among the most powerful words we can use as marketers, as people designing user experiences, and so on. But this formula is not new. And as I've worked with this, and as I've looked at things that have gone on through just in daily life and looking back and imagining history, putting hot triggers in the path of motivated people in some ways is how it's always been. All successful merchants, all successful change agents have done that. Well, certainly people who have control of a platform can issue triggers to their users. Those triggers can then control behavior. So behavior doesn't happen unless it gets triggered, and the kinds of triggers you issue will change the behavior. So when you control the behavior, of course, that's a very powerful position to be in, and really no company wants to step up and say, we're all about controlling user behavior. Facebook, Google, Zynga, they're not going to say that. But from my perspective, as a persuasion psychologist, somebody who looks at the world through that lens of persuasion and behavior change, that's what they're doing. If you can control the behavior, you can then create new platforms or control new platforms.
What are some of the ways that we can find the triggers, especially today as a lot of people are trying to think about their mobile strategies, that they can change behavior to get people to buy using their smartphones, to go into their locations, whatever it is?
What's interesting about mobile as a platform is it's the most personal, intimate technology I think we've ever had. It's really, I think it's part of human evolution, part of our physical evolution. Everybody coming into the world will have a mobile phone from here forward, and it's very close to us. The mobile phone, I believe, has to help us do what we want to do. So unlike websites and sales seminars and church meetings or what have you, where they can get you to maybe to do something you didn't want to or kind of force you to do stuff, I think mobile is all about helping me achieve my goals, helping you achieve your goals. So at least framing the experience in terms of that. You're hungry, there's a place you can go eat. Oh, by the way, you need to pick up your dry cleaning. So as a coach or concierge that helps me achieve my, I think that's the special role that mobile will play. And mobile's a big deal for us at Stanford. I do think in 10 to 15 years, it'll be the #1 platform for persuasion. If you want to influence people, it will be more important than the web, than TV, than radio. It's really going to be all about mobile, and we're just now seeing examples of that. We're going to see a lot of failures in the space, like anything that's new, but eventually people will figure it out. I think one of the keys is help people do what they already want to do, and that's without that, I think it's a non-starter on mobile, because it feels like the device is betraying me, and something that's me is not going to betray me, or it's gone.
This is Byron Gordon for the SES Conference Channel, and we are at SES San Francisco and Connected Marketing Week. And it is day 2. We just finished hearing from BJ Fogg, our keynoter for this morning. BJ, Director of Persuasive Technology Lab at Stanford. Thanks for joining us. BJ, you talked on the subject of hot triggers and the power to change human behavior. First of all, what is a hot trigger?
A hot trigger is like a call to action that I can act on right away. So some examples would be, say, a link in my inbox that says, click on this. It doesn't have to be technological. It could be somebody saying, take out the trash right now, and I can take it out. So a hot trigger is a call to action that's actionable right now, as opposed to like a billboard that says, drink more milk. I can't drink more milk when I'm driving down the highway.
Okay, you mentioned the mantra, put hot triggers in the path of all motivated people. Now, what was so revelatory for you with that mantra?
Yeah, so those 9 words, put hot triggers in the path of motivated people. It's like, I call it my design mantra, because that's what you need to do to win in the consumer space. If you're not triggering behaviors, if you're not putting it in their existing paths would be like email inbox, their Facebook newsfeed, their Twitter stream, things they're already doing, you put triggers into those paths, and you focus on the motivated people first and foremost, and you don't try to get people who don't care about what you're doing, because there's enough people out there. If you're doing something cool, there's enough people out there that will already want to do it, so you got to find them and trigger them. And that's the thing about those 9 words. So I've been looking at persuasive technology since 1993, and it's taken me, so many years to finally boil it down to like one phrase, a design mantra, put hot triggers in the path of motivated people. Well, here it is. I wish I would have known sooner. We all learn, I guess.
Now, you seem to think that Facebook does this effectively. You want to just briefly elaborate on why they're so effective?
Yeah, Facebook's clearly one of the best. So if I get something in my inbox that's saying I've been tagged in a photo, I think and certainly probably all of us, click through and we see the photo. We want to see what it is. We're motivated to see it. People invite us to be friends. We get invited even in our feed. We learn about events and so on. Really, Facebook is a platform for triggering behavior. And the Facebook team has grown that more and more. There's so many ways they trigger and shape our behaviors until they become habits in our lives. So now, for example, I don't have to get an email in my inbox to make me go to Facebook. It's become a habit, and that's what you want to do, is you trigger enough until the behavior becomes so familiar and so easy that it becomes something that people do all the time. And then you can actually remove the trigger or soften them, and that's kind of the holy grail, where if you take away the trigger, the behavior still happens, because then you don't have to put resources into triggering. And then you can take that existing behavior, like I go to Facebook every morning, and expand it to you stay logged into Facebook all day long, right? So there's sort of a systematic way of thinking, triggering, getting the behavior to happen once, getting it to happen over and over, making it a habit, and then expanding that habit into a larger set of habits. And Facebook's done a great job of that.
And real brief, you mentioned that you believe mobile is truly in another 10, 15 years is going to be the platform for delivering hot triggers, or would you care just to elaborate on that?
Well, for changing behaviors in general. So mobile, certainly a lot of exciting things are happening there now, and we're going to see lots of mistakes. So we shouldn't judge the potential of mobile by the current mistakes. But it's that device that we carry with us. We love it. We trust it. It can trigger our behavior in the right context. So if it's not going to trigger me to like drink milk when I'm driving. It might be more likely to trigger me when it knows I'm home. So because it understands our location, and more it will be able to infer our goals. So based on patterns and locations and past, it can infer our goals and then trigger us toward our goals. So there's a lot of things that make that mobile, whether we call it phones or what have you, it certainly is, in my view, going to be the #1 channel for changing behaviors. We're probably 10 to 15 years out, but that doesn't mean you can just wait around. I think there's a learning curve, and companies that want to, organizations, brands that want to use mobile need to be on the curve learning going forward, or they're going to be left behind.
Okay, and finally, you got some books coming out. Give us a plug for some of these.
Wow. You know, the thing we just shipped last night's not a book. We do have some books in queue, but the thing that shipped last night that maybe I'll talk about here is, so as we look at types of behavior change, there are 15, and we're writing a guide for each of the 15 types. The guide that my lab just finished, and it's about 40 pages, and it's not so hard to read. It's in ordinary language. Is about how do you take an existing behavior and increase it. So we call that a purple path behavior. So if I'm exercising for 30 minutes, how do I go for 45? If somebody is saving 8% a month, how do I persuade them to save 12%? So it's like taking an existing behavior and expanding it. And in our thinking, the different behavior types have common psychologies and common implementations. So if you just look at Purple Path, and we describe that conceptually and point to examples, if you want to take something like, I want to get, my customers to eat more vegetables, you can take the same strategies and psychology as getting people to exercise more. And that's what we're trying to extract and kind of distill in these guides and our way of thinking is almost like enduring principles of behavior change, and that's the guide that just came out. If you go to bit.ly/purplepath, the bit.ly link /purplepath, you can get it. Right now it's free. The other books in the works are Psychology of Facebook, which is really about the psychology of persuasion, a book on hot triggers, and one of these days a book on simplicity. But there's just a lot of exciting things to do, and it's hard to get them all done.
And if people want to keep track of your whereabouts and what you're up to?
You can follow me on Twitter. That's pretty good. bjfogg.com. I update from time to time, not as much as I should. And in my lab, we've set up a page where we're going to be, we started a couple of weeks ago, sharing more of the inside workings of the lab. So you can stay pretty much up to date. You don't have to wait for papers or conferences. That's facebook.com/captology. So if you just search Fogg or whatever, you'll find it eventually. But I think the Facebook page is the one we're really pushing on to share our lab's concepts freely and quickly. And that's the one that we're pretty excited about. Because we can do video, we can do slides, we can do notes, and distribute them through friends and friends of friends.
Thanks so much for chatting with us, BJ.
Sure thing.
And there's more to come from SES San Francisco and Connected Marketing Week. It's only day 2. Stay tuned for more.